Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. This is by viewer request for a video on my favorite skin scents or scents that stay close to you, are not loud, or not super projecting, would be great for an office setting, a medical setting, even going back to school for those of you that are college students and are going to be sitting in lecture halls or around conversation tables in your seminars and want to smell nice, but you don't want to offend everyone and you don't want to fill up the room with a fragrance cloud. So I have about 15. Would love to hear from you about what's a good number of fragrances to feature in a video. I like to do somewhere between 10 and up. 15 seems like a good number. Would be curious to hear your thoughts. Sometimes my videos get into the 20 and 25 fragrance range depending on the topic, but I do like to present options and variety for different personality types, different budgets, different fragrance preferences. So let's jump in. I'm actually going to start with my very favorite of the skin scent category. And you're not going to be surprised by what it's called. It's actually called Skin, and it's by Klein, and this is the Klein Reserve line. The reason that I make that distinction is because there was an original line that looked like this. So this is also Klein Skin. I actually prefer this one slightly to this one. They're both really nice. If you can find the older version like this, grab it. I'm on my second bottle of this and making my way through. But this one is lovely as well. It smells like skin. It smells like clean skin, slightly salty, a little musky. There's a praline note in there that adds some sweetness. There's even like a very, 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 very slight hint of leather. I hesitate to say that because you barely perceive it at all. But it smells like nice, clean, freshly showered skin, not soapy at all, but skin, just skin, like how your skin smells when it warms up. And I really adore this. I think this is a wonderful one for close settings. Longevity isn't amazing. You know, you get a few hours out of it, maybe up to 4 to 6 hours, depending on the conditions that you wear it in. So definitely Skin is my #1 skin scent for obvious reasons. I would also like to feature another one from the Klein Reserve line that I think is really lovely for wearing close to the skin, and that is Radiant Nectar. The main difference is that Radiant Nectar has a really pretty pear note, especially in the opening. There's also musk mallow in here, which gives it, I think, just this sweet kind of muskiness. There's some orris in the middle that gives it some slight powderiness. So it's a much more feminine leaning fragrance. Not that Skin is masculine. I think it's a very sort of neutral fragrance, to be honest with you. This one I think is much more on the feminine side because of the sweetness of the pear. There's also, I think, a carrot note in here. And it's pretty. It's also close to the skin, not the longest lasting. You may get 4 to 6 hours out of it. It almost comes across a little bit honey-like, very sort of sweet, like a deep, sweet, ripened pear that leans almost in the honey direction on the opening, and then it mellows out into this soft, musky, slightly powdery, fruity scent that's light and pleasant and non-offensive. By the way, I should have mentioned at the beginning of the video that I've got a lot of fragrances that probably qualify as beautiful skin scents, but I try to rotate fragrances out for videos so that you're not hearing about the same ones back to back, which is hard to do when you sort of get obsessed with a small body of fragrances and want to talk about them all the time because you're wearing them, playing with them, testing them. So the ones that I have in this video are the ones that I picked that I think I haven't talked about very recently, just to provide some variety. But if you have questions about anything that you've heard me talk about in another video, please let me know. I'm happy to talk about it. The next 2 fragrances I think are just underrated gems. This one you will see in my August Fragrances Awards video, and it is Monsoon Rose Gold. You can see the dent that I've put in this already because I think this is a simply gorgeous light fragrance. It comes on a little bit more than a skin scent, but quickly sort of mellows out. And even though it stays maybe a little bit more than a skin scent, I would still put it in that category as being completely non-offensive, completely office safe, and closer to you than some of the more projection beasts that we talk about on YouTube all the time. People don't really talk about this. I haven't heard anyone mention this. In fact, this is a fragrance that I would consider a really light, crisp, airy, clean, fresh baby rose kind of a scent. It also has a little bit of muskiness, a little bit of woodiness, and even something in the citrus direction. I think there's a neroli note in here that lends a slight bit of sharpness, and it leans in that direction. Like if it went any more in that direction, it would be too sharp, but it's just shy of that. That keeps this a fresh, light, airy, maybe even an ozonic kind of a fragrance. What I mean by that is sort of just lingers up in the air. It's not a heavy fragrance at all. There's no sort of density to this. It's light and it's pretty and it's fresh. I feel very fresh, very clean, and very rosy and pretty when I wear this fragrance, and it lasted pretty decently. I did overspray. In fact, all the fragrances that I'm talking about in this video, you can spray head to toe. You can spray in your hair, you can spray in your skin, you can spray on your clothing, you can spray as to your heart's content as much as you like, and you won't offend anyone. You will not soak yourself so much that, you know, you're bothering other people. So spray away and enjoy. But this is an affordable gem of a fragrance, Monsoon Rose Gold. Next is one I have not talked about in a long time, probably since last summer. It's from Garden Botanika and it's called Heart. And this is an eau de parfum concentration, although it kind of performs like an eau de toilette, which is fine. This I found on Amazon if anybody's curious about it. I will have all the names of these and the makers, the house or the designer or whatever, in the description box, okay? I don't do links to perfumes because those change and prices change. So my suggestion to you is if you're interested in a fragrance that I talk about, Google it. Type the name and the maker into Google and then go to the shopping tab and see what the best price is. That's how I shop for fragrances. I don't want to put links in and send you to links that could be discontinued, defunct, or maybe not giving you the best price. So do the Google search method. Anyhow, this is a citric, floral, woody, musky kind of a fragrance. I get a lot of fresh orange and lemon at the top with something in sort of the rosy direction, maybe even a little bit similar to this. Like these could be cousins. This could be the more citrusy version. And this is like the Laura Ashley rose kind of Yardley fragrance version. Very, very light, very non-offensive. In fact, you will barely detect that you have this on after a while. Although when people come up to you, you will smell lovely, citrusy, rosy and clean with a hint of woodiness in the background. I think you can find this in the $50 or under range. I wouldn't pay any more than that. In fact, I would probably stick in the 20 to 30 US dollar range if you can find it. Would I go to 50? Maybe, but I definitely wouldn't go past that for this fragrance because it is so light in feeling, in smell, and in performance, but definitely pretty. In the same category as the other two, and I have talked about this maybe in the past few months because I really like it and it's underrated, and a lot of people kind of shun this fragrance because the performance is underwhelming. I get that. And it's Daisy Oh So Fresh. It has special meaning to me because my husband gifted me this bottle for Christmas a couple of years ago now. But I like this and I love to overspray it. It doesn't look like I've gone through a lot, but I spray this about 20 to 30 times. In fact, it's my scent of the day, and I literally sprayed myself head to toe, clothing, skin, everything with this, and it remains light and fresh. This has a lot going on in the note structure. There's raspberry, there's pear, there's other fruity notes in here. I think there's grapefruit too. And it has some greenness to it, and then a very light, thin, pale, musky underbase, but it's mostly just a very light, like not yet ripe fruit smell. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have fruit that's picked fresh from tree or bush, whatever it is that you're smelling, and it still needs to mature before it gets sweet, but it has a fresh smell to it. That's kind of what you get out of this. And it's one of these fragrances that you can wear at any age. Young ladies, gentlemen, whatever, all the way up to much more mature years can put this on and just smell pleasant around people. Again, very soft scent bubble, barely projects like a foot off of the skin, but you smell yourself and you smell nice and pleasant. No, these don't last long, but like this is a 4.25 ounce bottle. And I think this costs something like $50. So spray away and enjoy it. Yes, gaudy top and all of that, but just a pretty scent. Next fragrance is one that people may be surprised to see in this video category, but for me, it's a skin scent, or at least it calms down into a skin scent. And I think it's just so lovely. It's a shame that it doesn't project more and doesn't have better performance. But if you're looking for a skin scent in this scent profile, Bronze Goddess Eau Fresh by Estee Lauder is that one. This is your suntan lotion fragrance, like your summer in a bottle fragrance. It's called Eau Fresh, /skin scent. So that's what it is. As you can see, I've gone through a whole lot of that this summer and may use it up before fall hits. And this is a fragrance, even though it's summer in nature, you can wear these fragrances year round. I love to reach for fragrances like Terracotta, the other Bronze Goddess, my other coconut scents in the winter. This is what I would definitely wear in the winter if you're craving just that like tropical suntan lotion kind of a smell. Stays really close to the skin and it's very pretty. It's got a little bit of a coconut undertone, which makes it creamy and sweet and soft. So yeah, don't forget this one when you think about skin scents. For those of you that like to smell particularly classy, I have McQueen Eau Blanche, and I do have the regular McQueen, which is a heavier tuberose fragrance. This is tuberose and ylang-ylang and jasmine sambac and a hint of woodiness in the base. And although it hovers between skin scent and just more like of an intimate scent, I still think this is appropriate for an office, back to school, medical setting, anything like that where you're sitting around other folks, standing around other people, and you want to smell pretty, you want to smell classy, but you don't want to be in other people's scent space, okay? This stays pretty close to you, maybe a couple of feet off of the skin at the most, and definitely calms down the longer that you wear it. This does have better longevity than some of the other skin scents that I have mentioned, and I just think it's a very elegant, understated fragrance, a gem of a fragrance that I really don't hear people talking about, McQueen Eau Blanche. Two scents that represent a whole sort of line of fragrances from one retailer that I think are just beautiful. I'm talking about I always butcher this name, L'Occitane. It's the name of the store, L'Occitane. I have two. I have Terre de Lumiere and I have, well, the EDT, the Eau de Toilette, and then the Eau de Parfum version. I bought the Eau de Parfum version because the Eau de Toilette has what I consider to be the softest performance, or one of the softest performances in my collection, probably like Heart from Garden Botanica, sort of in that range. And it's such an absolutely gorgeous smell. I wish that it was stronger and projected more. But for those of you that like a soft skin scent, and don't want something to last forever and ever, like this is, a few hours, maybe into the 4-ish hour range, here is a fragrance that you would definitely want to check out. First of all, the bottle is gorgeous with this ombre kind of effect. And I love that this is a floral and almond fragrance. The main note in here is a peony flower note and almond, and you get a little bit of muskiness and a little bit of sweetness in the base with tonka bean. Really a gorgeous scent. Again, it just dies down so quickly into a skin scent that I love it, and I keep it in my collection to wear around the house, to wear to bed. But for those of you that just want to be pretty, smell something nice on you and not be too loud, this is a gorgeous one. And then the difference with the Eau de Parfum concentration is that this one has honey and lavender. It's as though Mon Guerlain, the EDP, actually maybe the EDT, maybe like the EDT of Mon Guerlain and Coffee Break from Maison Margiela were smashed together. You might get something like this. So it deepens up the profile of this. This still has the ambrette, it has the almond, it has tonka bean, and a little bit of musk in general. But so they're similar in terms of like the base of the fragrances, but this is deepened up with and sweetened up with the honey and made a little bit more aromatic with the lavender. Both fabulous choices as skin scents. Then another one that I think is a gem but isn't talked about often, and I'm not sure why, it's Estee Lauder's Sensuous. I'm not sure if this is discontinued. If I figure that out between now and when I edit this video, I will post it here. So this opens with some white floral notes, but what it really is this ambery, woody, sandalwood kind of a fragrance. There's hints of ylang-ylang in here as well. It is exactly what the name says. It's a very sensuous kind of a smell, close to the skin, intimate, almost like a Your Skin but better kind of a scent. Like it's almost like Clean Reserve Skin, except deeper with some woody notes on it and a little bit of pepperiness from the pepper notes in here. Really pretty. I also have Sensuous Nude, which I've been trying to get my hands on. It's a flanker to this. I ended up getting a travel roller ball of that and taking it with me on vacation. That one is like this, except it has more sweetness and a coconut note. So it's like a woody coconut kind of a fragrance. And so I would suggest that one as well, because it does also become a skin scent and really pleasant, like right fresh off of the skin. Next, we cannot forget an iconic skin scent that I think it's just sort of gotten lost in the YouTube shuffle. Not very many people talk about this, remember it, or still have it in their collection. I think it's nice. It's one that I really had to get used to, and I'll share why in a second, but it's Lovely by Sarah Jessica Parker. This is musky, woody lavender, period. But when I tried it for the first time, I believe I was in college or right out of college, and there was something about the musk in this that I just wasn't ready for, because it is a heavier, it's heavier on the musk aspect of this. And at that time, my nose and musk just didn't go together. I was more into like your Bath and Body Works kinds of fragrances at that time, post-college, and was wearing a lot of Victoria's Secret kinds of fragrance. That was what I wore mostly at that time, and citrusy kinds of fragrances. So this was very heavy and different to me, and I didn't like it. But now as I get older and have a different appreciation for different kinds of scents, this is back in the rotation. And I love this as a sweater fragrance, as a bedtime scent, as a hang out in your pajamas, hanging around the house in comfortable clothing. Those kinds of situations I think are great for this. It's also a great everyday scent. Skin scent, after a while, intimate bubble. One that leans slightly masculine and I'll be reaching for in the fall as it approaches, but I have worn in the summer because it's great for this time of year also, is Givenchy Pie. This smells like kitchen spices with some aromatic notes, like a lavender kind of a note in here. I think there's basil, there's vanilla in here. It's a really pleasant masculine leaning fragrance, just ever so slightly leaning masculine. So for those of you that prefer feminine fragrances, maybe this isn't for you, but if you have a little bit more of an adventurous nose and want to try something light and skin scent like, this does project a little bit more in the first hour or so, but then it gets really tame and very pleasant. And like I said, very kitchen spicy to me, with some other herbs in there that are more on the aromatic side. So great choice. Another wonderful choice for all year round, and especially in the fall as we approach, it's Hanami by Phlur. I don't think they make these bottles anymore, and I'm not sure if this fragrance is being produced. Again, I'll put it up here if I see it on the Sephora website, which is where I originally got this. This is a sandalwood and fig fragrance with some sweetness to it. I think it's very unisex, although it does have some masculine touches to it. At the same time, a little bit of sweetness from the fig as well. And it's just a very, very pleasant, woody kind of a scent with that hint of fig for sweetness. Really, really nice, underrated fragrance, very light on the skin. Fragrance I haven't talked about a lot, but that I do find beguiling and want to wear more, especially as the fall approaches, is from Daniel Josier, and this is called Josune. Very pretty fragrance. The more that I sniff it, the more that it sits, the more that I am falling in love with this. And I want to read you some of the notes. Jasmine, rose, and bergamot at the top. In the middle, there's iris and sandalwood and patchouli. This has a lot of depth and a lot of character for being a lighter, more skin scent, low projection, intimate kind of a fragrance. And I love that in the base, it has praline, vanilla, and musk. So at the same time that it's this kind of sensual sort of fragrance with the patchouli and all of that, a little bit earthy, it also has these gourmand aspects that just kind of keep you guessing with this fragrance. I think it's really pretty. I think it meshes really beautifully with skin chemistry, and it's so soft and subtle on the skin, but still has presence without being overwhelming. There's something delicate and light about this while it's still substantive, which I think I don't see that or smell that a lot rather in many fragrances, and I really appreciate about this one. I think it's a bit of an underrated gem, Josune. Before I get into the last two fragrances, I do want to give an honorable mention to two old school fragrances, CK1 and CKB. Yes, if you overspray these, they're not skin scents, but if you keep them light, they're just such fun 90s fragrances. They evoke great memories. They're really rather unisex, maybe leaning a little bit on the masculine side, but boy, are these fun to wear. Great t-shirt and jeans kinds of fragrances. They remind me a lot of exactly this category because I wore them in college. I wore them into lecture settings and all of that as I went from class to class. But let me finish out with two real beauties. One is Yes, I Am from Cacharel. This is a lovely, spicy, warm, vanilla, milky kind of a fragrance. Let me get you some of the notes here. There's caramel, cardamom, licorice, milk, vanilla. Really nice. If this were more projecting, this would be a beast of a fragrance because it's so gourmand and so lovely, but it is on the rather soft side. Gives you a comforting little scent bubble. Great hang around the house fragrance. Great sweater weather kind of fragrance. Great date night fragrance if you want something soft and intimate and you want to draw your date in close. Yes, beautiful, and the bottle is kitschy, but it's kind of cute. I'm going to finish off with maybe one of the queens of the skin scent category, and I think it's discontinued but still available on gray market sites. If you like a soft, pretty vanilla, I would suggest Manifesto by Yves Saint Laurent. This is definitely one of my more elegant, leaning on the green side, very soft and subtle vanillas. Definitely not gonna knock anyone out, not gonna command any presence, but there's something beautiful, demure, delicate, light, fresh, yet also kind of sexy about this. Great skin scent, great come hither with just a touch of like innocence to it as well. So it's a beguiling fragrance also in that same way that Josune is, that you're always trying to figure it out. I would say that it stays super light though. So if you do need a little bit of presence in your fragrances, maybe skip this one. But if you don't mind something super close to the skin that makes you feel fabulous and you're gonna smell great, Manifesto's a wonderful choice. So that is the selection for today. Would love to hear about your favorite skin scents in the comments. Of course, there were many that were left out for the sake of time, but would love to hear your favorite. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video, my friends. Take care.